last man on Earth. Over 500 years had passed since Major Wayne Bounds and his crew of 4 left to find a new home for the people of Earth. During their long journey, they encountered many unfortunate incidents, numerous beasts and aliens, and they fought bravely for their lives. After the last of his crew passed away, Major Bounds set a course back to Earth. He placed the ship on autopilot and himself in a sleeping pod that put his life in a frozen state. Upon his return to Earth, Major Bounds was met with a chilling sight. The planet was now a frozen wasteland, its temperatures too severe for him to endure. He retreated to his ship and returned to orbit. Undeterred by the desolation, Major Bounds stood resolute, his duty as the last human driving him forward. His ship's sensors diligently scanned the surface below, his search unyielding. He clung to the hope that some remnant of humanity had managed to survive the cataclysmic events that had befallen the Earth. As his orbit persisted, Major Bounds' attention was drawn to the Moon, or rather its remnants. A third of the Moon was now a gaping void, a jagged crater where once a celestial body had radiated in the night sky. The sight filled him with a profound sense of awe as he realized that whatever had caused such devastation was not limited to Earth alone. Despite the insurmountable odds stacked against him, Major Bounds adamantly refused to relinquish hope. With determination ablaze in his heart, he pledged to persist in his search for any survivors, wherever they may be. For he understood that as long as even a single member of humanity endured, there was still hope for the future. No matter how bleak the present may appear. While still in orbit, Bounds observed a flickering sun that grew dimmer every day. The Earth was dead, and his scanners never detected any life forms or sounds. From his perspective, he was gone for nearly 500 years. His wife, sons Jaden and Braden, and his beloved little daughter Ava were never far from his thoughts. She was always the first to greet him when he got home and wanted to read to him. Their faces etched into his mind's eye as if frozen in time. The pain of their absence was a constant ache, a reminder of all that had been lost. In the vast expanse of space, surrounded by silence and emptiness, Major Bounds grappled with a sense of despair unlike anything he had ever known. The realization that mankind was gone, forever lost to the ravages of time and the unforgiving cosmos, threatened to engulf him in darkness. But even in the face of such overwhelming grief and despair, Major Bounds refused to surrender to hopelessness. Deep within his soul burned a flicker of determination, a stubborn refusal to give up on the possibility of a better tomorrow. One morning, while Bounds was in orbit near the Moon, taking in a comprehensive view of Earth, he thought of making it his last view of home. He was looking at the light from the Earth's icy crust surface. He set a course for another galaxy that people talked about during his studies, where humans could live. Major Bounds set his course there, feeling he had nothing to lose but his life. His ship had a nuclear warp engine, so he thought he had a chance. For as long as he drew breath, Major Bounds vowed to honor the memory of his family and all those who had come before him. He would continue to search for signs of life, explore the vast reaches of space, and discover some remnant of humanity's legacy. The Major was rearing his engine and buckled into his seat belt. At that time he saw 4 white, unmarked ships starting to orbit Earth. With quick reflexes, Major Bounds shut his warp engine off. He circled into orbit, following the fast-moving ships. Suddenly, the 4 ships broke off their formation and dove to Earth. He decided to follow one of the ships down. of the ship landed, and Major Bounds landed near the white ship. The Major approached the ship with his weapon drawn. The ship looked alien to him. The door opened, and the Major jumped back with his gun pointing at the door. He approached again and slowly went aboard the ship. He started searching around the ship, finding it empty. He went to the bridge of the ship, where there were no wheels, gears, or buttons, just an empty seat. The Major was preparing to leave the room when suddenly the hatch closed on him. The ship's engine started, and he was trapped inside, lifting off into orbit. The Major began to feel nervous as the ship pulled into orbit, and the other 3 ships caught up. They then started moving away from Earth at high speed. Later on, the Major grew tired, frightened, and sleepy. He found a strange living quarter to rest in but couldn't get comfortable. Nonetheless, it seemed like he slept for a week. He found himself back in Earth's orbit alongside the 3 other ships when he woke up. The ships landed on Earth, but the Major's hatch never opened. This continued to happen over and over, countless times. The Major never felt hungry, and the ship offered him some unfamiliar food. He wondered if the aliens had fattened him up. That night he slept again. The ship was moving at an incredible warp drive when he woke up. He knew then that it was not a human craft. The Major slept he could do nothing wherever this ship was heading. Some days he would talk to the ship, but he never responded. He asked to be taken back to Earth, but there was no response. He wondered if he was an alien that had destroyed his planet, but there was no response. The Major continues you to sleep. One day, he became so upset that he asked the ship to take him home, and the Major began crying and losing little control. After so many days, weeks, months, or years, that significant lost count. One day, the ship can come to a stop, and the ship starts landing. The ship finally spoke. Major Wayne Bounds, you are home. Your family awaits. The Major said, Family? The Major got up and ran to the door. The hatch opened, and he walked outside, seeing many humans. A young man approached Major Bounds. He said, Hi, sir. I am Jaden Bounds. You are our long-lost great-great-great-great-great and beyond grandfather. A little girl was standing next to the young man. She had a book. She said, Hi, my name is Ava. Major Bounds picked her up, and she asked, Would you like me to read to you? Just as his little Ava would ask him. Major Bounds was in tears. The Major Bounds was the last man on Earth. But he was not alone. This ends the story of The Last Man on Earth.